Outdoor Boys has exploded in growth to become one of the biggest YouTube channels on the entire platform. Its creator, Luke Nichols, is used as an example of how to make it big. But now, he's quitting. For good. How did a friendly, humble guy become one of the most dominant media personalities in the world? And why is he giving it all up? Luke Nichols was born in 1978, out in Alaska. Alaska is a lot different than most places in the United States. In fact, it's a lot different than most places on the planet. The vast majority of the state is dense forest wilderness, rushing waterfalls, and snowy mountains. Anchorage, the biggest city in the state where Luke grew up, is pretty puny on the national level and surrounded by open nature. Alaska is a state where nature rules. Humans are more guests than anything else. It's pretty much impossible to grow up in this land without learning some basic outdoorsy skills, like fishing, foraging, and even hunting. You have to learn to respect the wilds, else end up lost in the woods or as a grizzly bear's lunchtime snack, as far too many have in the past. This was no different for Luke. Pretty much as soon as he could walk, he went out with his dad, grandpa, and brother to the nearby streams. They'd spend hours catching salmon, trout, char, and anything else the Alaskan rivers would give them, all while Luke watched. He was too young to take part or even remember these early trips, but this time with the family helped develop a deep passion for the outdoors and for fishing in particular. But Luke fostered more than just a love for wildlife out in Alaska. During his free time, he learned to carve wooden totem poles, which he would then sell to tourists, and even a few locals. Luke learned not only how to be a fine craftsman, but figured out how to market his goods in a way that caught people's eye. He quickly clocked what aspects of his craft drew people in, and which ones set him apart from the competition. Little did Luke know that these skills would be fundamental to his later success. See, Luke had very different ideas for what he would be doing later on in life than what actually took place. The Mormon dream is pretty straightforward. Graduate high school, go on your missionary travels, come back to study at BYU, marry early, have a family. That's the roadmap his family set out for him. The one every young Mormon kid is told they should follow. But there were a few complications along the way. Luke started off strong on the first few steps of the typical Mormon journey. He spent a couple of years traveling around Japan for his mission, then came back to study political science at BYU, where he met his future wife, Rebecca. All was going well, but Luke found that he didn't really like school. In his own words, he said he was a pretty bad student, and his more active, outdoorsy upbringing didn't make him suited for sitting still in a stuffy classroom. Luke soldiered on and finished his undergrad, but he discovered that his true skills lie in communicating with people. He had a knack for making others feel welcome and connecting with everyone he met. With this skill in his back pocket and a political science degree in hand, he believed political consulting was the perfect way forward. Luke set up his own firm in the state and got to work, but in the end, things didn't quite pan out. He moved his family way out to Virginia to study law at George Mason University. It was a totally fresh start, a gamble for sure, but one that paid off. As his newly established law firm started to take off, it wasn't long before Luke and Rebecca started a family. With Luke building a successful criminal defense firm and their new baby boy Tommy in the crib, everything was looking rosy for the family. But during this whole time, Luke had never forgotten one of his very first loves: fishing. He still fawned over new equipment and visited nearby streams to snatch up fresh catches when he had free time. Then, one day, Luke was scrolling on his laptop and saw something that would change his life forever. 2013. YouTube had spent the late 2000s growing fast and quickly established itself as the premier online video sharing platform. But the content on the site was very different from the type we see today. Back then, it was very much the Wild West. Big channels were only just starting to blossom, and there was no algorithm-rigged, guaranteed way of getting consistent viewers. People uploaded their own style of content, rough and raw, and the viewers decided what they liked. Throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks was the prevailing narrative. Luke scrolled through YouTube and saw that there were a fair few channels that were doing very, very well. The biggest were even making an insane amount of money, considering they were just making online videos. Luke knew he was a good communicator and decided to apply those skills to the online world by talking about his favourite pastime. After spending some time in the UK and realising how much better European equipment is compared to the American alternatives, as well as how big carp fishing was in the States, he decided to focus on the two fish in particular for his channel. That's the day Luke's first channel started. He made videos all about catching catfish, reviewing fishing products, and making tutorials about the hobby. He called the channel Catfish and Carp. Simple, straightforward, and fun. Exactly Luke's style. To his surprise, the channel started doing really well. Some of his more popular videos hit the 9-figure view count, an extremely rare achievement back in the early 2010s. Luke enjoyed making the content. His viewers appreciated his easygoing and humble style. It seemed like a match made in heaven. But once again, there were a few complications along the way. Now that Luke's family were growing up in Virginia, his kids didn't have the same Alaskan rugged landscape and harsh wilderness around them. The family tradition passed down from Luke's grandfather of learning plenty of handy survival skills was at risk of dying out. Luke made it his mission to teach his sons survival skills like fishing and foraging, and decided to make them a part of the channel. He even included some vlogs that just showed them growing up in general. The regular viewers weren't very interested in Luke's family life, however, so he decided to start a separate channel in 2015. This new channel stood completely apart from Catfish and Carp, where he could do whatever he wanted with the boys out in nature. Naturally, in true Luke fashion, he went the straightforward route with the name Outdoor Boys. Outdoor Boys started off as a total hodgepodge mess of content. Luke filmed pretty much anything he wanted, like his little arts and crafts or his playtime adventures with his boys. Of course, there was still a slight focus on his outdoor escapades, but the channel was more a life vlog than anything else. In 2015, the YouTube landscape looked very different to what it is today. Shorter, punchier videos performed better, while YouTube personalities were still looking to get off the ground. Still, Luke gained a decent following from Outdoor Boys, hitting 100,000 subscribers by 2018 and establishing enough of a community to keep the channel thriving. People liked watching him spend time with his family, but the main attraction was still very much Luke. As the platform transitioned more towards long-form, creator-focused and relatable, vlog-style content, Luke found himself in a strong position as an early adopter. Still, he was far from being a top content creator. There were plenty of channels out there with millions of subscribers, and Outdoor Boys was still very much a small fish in a vast ocean. That was until Luke made one massive decision that would change the course of his entire online career and catapult him to superstardom. That little fish was about to turn into a whale. 2020, the world is gripped by the COVID-19 pandemic. People are stuck indoors and are watching more YouTube content than ever before. By this point, Luke and Rebecca had made the decision to spend far more time in Alaska. Luke wanted to give his kids the real survivalist experience he grew up with. By this point, Luke had also made another huge leap of faith. He'd quit law outright to focus entirely on the channel. He now had more time to make videos and uploaded a few solo videos of him making shelters out in the rugged wilderness. Viewers loved Luke's calm, friendly, and straightforward manner. Couple that with the improved video quality, his survival skills, his early adoption of a new brand of YouTube content, and the pandemic keeping people glued to screens, you have a recipe for success. Outdoor Boys exploded in popularity. Videos began hitting not just 9 digits, but mid-10 digits, racking up as many as 50 million views. The sub count climbed and climbed. By mid-2020, the channel turned golden by surpassing the 1 million mark. It was an insane amount of growth, and the following years didn't slow down even one bit. Outdoor Boys started out in 2015 as a side project for Luke's hobby, so he could spend a bit more time with his family. Less than 10 years later, it had transformed into a 10 million plus subscriber YouTube channel that was making tons of money and growing every day. But again, things weren't all sunshine and rainbows for Luke. Despite the channel taking more of a focus on his family, he found that maintaining Outdoor Boys took so much effort that it was taking away his opportunity to spend time with his loved ones. It makes sense. Editing videos, managing a thriving community, posting consistently. These are all a struggle for even the smallest channels. It was near impossible for one the size of Outdoor Boys. By 2025, the channel had grown to a staggering 17.5 million subscribers, gaining 12 million in the span of just 18 months. Luke was considered one of the very best YouTubers out there, a content creating genius, but he wasn't happy. He wanted more time with his family, and YouTube was getting in the way of that. Not only that, but the sheer level of popularity and fame Luke had achieved was starting to wear him down. People became obsessed, sending in insane amounts of emails, begging to take pictures with him, and approaching him outright in public meant that the family could no longer enjoy any real privacy. Luke's family is literally suffering from his success. That's when, in May 2025, he made a massive decision. The bombshell video dropped, one that shook his community to its very core. Subscribers opened up YouTube and saw that Outdoor Boys had posted a new video. Nice, they think, until they open up the channel and see that the title is just goodbye. Their hearts sink, and they prepare for the worst. The video opens up as usual. Luke is walking through the forest with his trusty camera in hand. Then he sits down and explains all the reasons why he doesn't feel like keeping the channel going is a good idea. Luke lays out how he'll help his son Tommy's new channel grow, and that he'd be uploading the last 3 unfinished videos across the month of November, before signing off for good. It's a heartfelt goodbye and a bit of a tearjerker for the subscribers, but the response is mostly positive. The fans understand Luke's point of view, and are excited to see what the final adventures hold in store. His impact is so widespread, even the governor of Alaska himself, Mike Dunleavy, posts on his Facebook wishing the man well. Alaska is proud to call him one of our own. In the end, Luke managed to do something that very, very few massive YouTubers pull off when it's their time to go, and that is leave with dignity.